Hey everyone, I'm back, and I just finished watching all 3 episodes of Stranger Things 5 Volume 2. And I have to say, there were a lot of things in these episodes that I was disappointed by, but there were also some really cool scenes and things about the story that I enjoyed. So I'm gonna get into all of it. Again, there's gonna be a lot of spoilers in here, so if you haven't watched all of Volume 2 as yet, then maybe watch it first and then come back and watch this video after. So let's get into it. So I'm not really going to do a full breakdown because it was just a lot going on and I don't want this video to be too long, but I might make a breakdown and recap video afterwards before the finale episode comes out. So Volume 2 picked up after the battle at the military base between Vecna and Will and when they took the kids. So all of the kids got taken by Vecna and the Demogorgons. And so the kids all end up in the Creel house in this memory where Henry is keeping them. So one of the main things that gets revealed in this first episode, Shock Jock, is that the Upside Down is not another dimension that's just below Hawkins. It's actually part of a wormhole. So at the top of the wormhole is what they call the abyss. And then there's like a tunnel or a bridge between that leads to the Upside Down, which then is underneath Hawkins. So that's something that Dustin found in the lab in the Upside Down in Dr. Brenner's books. I mean, this is really cool and all, but it kind of doesn't make sense because that big viney wall in the Upside Down, how come no one's ever discovered that before? I mean, if it was always just this like tunnel, bridge, whatever, leading into the abyss, why has no one come across it as yet? None of the group, Hopper, the military, nobody, and they've been doing crawls for what, like a year or more? It just doesn't make sense. And so there's this exotic matter, which Dustin discovers, that's floating above the Upside Down, and that's what is the entrance, I guess, or that's what's like powering the bridge. And so Nancy finds it and Nancy shoots at it. So essentially she activates it, I guess. And this starts melting the building, the lab that they're in the Upside Down. So also in this episode, we see that Kali is out of the lab and she's with Hop and Elle, and she goes back to Hawkins with them. And she explains to Elle that while she was hooked up to that machine in the lab in the military base in the Upside Down by Dr. K, that they were using her blood to infuse pregnant women so that they could basically restart Papa's program. But Elle doesn't believe Kali, and she says that it's just an illusion. So in the third episode, Kali tells Elle that because Dr. K is trying to restart this program, and even if they kill her, someone else will just come in and try to do the same thing. It's just this continuous cycle. And the only way to break the cycle is for them to die with Vecna, because then they don't have their blood to infuse anyone with and to create these weapons. So Kali tells Elle that when they plan to defeat Vecna, which they have a plan I'll get into later on, and destroy the bridge and destroy the abyss and everything, that they have to stay behind and die with it and die with Vecna. Now, I don't trust Kali at all, and Hopper doesn't either. And I trust Hopper's instincts. She just seems like she's lying. She's very quiet in all of these episodes. She's very quiet, and it's almost like she's sitting there and planning. And again, she can show people things. She can make people see things. So I don't trust her. I think that she's trying to somehow trick Elle. I don't know. I've seen theories that she's the spy for the Mind Flayer. I don't know about that, but I just don't think that she has good intentions, and I don't trust her at all. So at the same time, we see that Max and Holly are trying to escape Camazotz. They're trying to go through Henry's memories and find their own memories and get out. And so they use Derek as a distraction, but Derek gets caught by Henry. And that scene was pretty scary when Henry Vecna threatened Derek and his family. That was pretty scary. I like that scene. But then we see that Vecna actually catches up to Max and Holly. And at the same time, in the real world, Will and the rest of the group, they found a way to bring a dead Demogorgon back to life and use it to tap back into the hive mind. So Will is now in the hive mind while Vecna is looking for Holly and Max. So Vecna finds them, and there's one scene where this was, I think, the best scene in the entire volume 2. Like, out of all the episodes, this was the most enjoyable scene, and it was just so well done. So Vecna is about to kill Max. He has her in a chokehold and he is about to kill her. We see in the real world that her heart monitor is about to go flat, and then Vecna starts to get weak and his leg snaps and he drops Max, and we realize that it's actually Will that's doing this. This scene was so cool, and it just showed how much Will cares about his friends, and even though he pushed himself to the limits and afterwards he was in a trance state for a little while, he cares about his friends so much, and he was willing to do this even if it harmed himself. And that scene was just so impactful. The best part about it was when he turned Vecna's head towards Max and he spoke through and told Max to run. That part of the scene got me. That was one of the best scenes in the history of Stranger Things, in my opinion. One of the other scenes that I want to talk about that was disappointing and also really confusing was when Nancy and Jonathan almost died in that melting room after she shot at the exotic matter and it started melting the lab in the Upside Down. And I thought that Jonathan proposed, but apparently they broke up. And right after that, right after Nancy accepted his unproposal, the room solidified. So it was no longer melting and they survived. I mean, that scene was pretty dumb because we were kind of prepared for them to die. I feel like no one would have been mad if they died, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, miraculously the room solidified and they survived, and now we don't know if they're broken up or if they're together. I don't know, you guys can let me know, but to me, it seemed like he was unproposing just because they thought they were gonna die. And even if he proposed, it didn't make sense because they weren't gonna live and be together. But apparently they broke up. I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments. So Max and Holly, they figure out a way to find an exit from Camazotz. And also Vecna used Will as a spy through the Demogorgon to figure out where Max was in the hospital. So he sent the Demodogs to the hospital. So at the same time, these Demodogs are hunting Max in the hospital in the real world in Hawkins, but she's also very close to getting out of Camazotz. So Lucas keeps the music playing even though the Demodogs are hunting them down, and they go into like the laundry room in the basement and he's still playing the music, yet the Demodogs don't find them. I don't know, that did not make sense at all, unless there's something that's hidden there with the music and the Demogorgons and them not being able to hear music. I don't know. That's unexplained. So anyways, in wherever Holly and Max are, the memories, when Max's portal opens, she turns to Holly and says that you can't come with me because this is only my memory. And if you come with me, you're not going to get to your own body. So you have to find your own body. So I'm going to go through my portal and you need to go find your own portal though. Like, how could you bring her all this way with you? She helped you find your portal. If it wasn't for her, you wouldn't have even found your own portal. And now you're going to tell her she has to find her own way back? And so they stand there and they talk for like 2 hours. And like, did you not forget, Max, that your portal closed on you before? Like, why are you not in any rush? And so Holly obviously gets upset because she's like, how am I going to get out now? You were supposed to help me get out, or we were supposed to get out together. So they stand there and talk forever, and Max hypes Holly up and tells her she's Holly the heroic and she can find her way and whatever. And so in like a second after, Holly's portal opens and we see that she's hooked up in the abyss, I guess, to Vecna and this whole viney hive mind in the cave. So she runs towards it. And again, with no urgency, her and Max then run towards their portals. That scene was dumb. How did a portal for Holly open up so easily? Holly manifested a portal for herself within a couple minutes, but it took Max that long to even get her portal open? Come on. So we see that Max wakes up in the next episode and she reunites with Lucas and everyone. And I mean, it was emotional for me. And it was emotional, it seemed, for Lucas and Max. But not for anyone else. I mean, not for Elle, her best friend. Not for Hopper, who she thought was dead. Not for anyone else. And she's been in this coma or trance state for so long. And she finally woke up and it seemed like nobody really even cared. I thought that that moment would have been much bigger than it was. So fast forward, Elle finds Will where he's being held by Vecna while he's in the trance state and brings him back. And so everyone's all reunited. Everyone's together now. And they're trying to plan how they're going to get Vecna now that they know that this is a wormhole and there's the abyss. And so while this is all happening, Will sits Joyce down and tells her that there's something that he didn't tell her before about Vecna, or something that Vecna showed him that he didn't tell her before and he needs to tell her now. So I'm thinking that he's going to reveal something that happened to him, something connected to Vecna that is very important, that's going to make a big difference in defeating Vecna. But no, that didn't happen. Will just needed to sit them all down to tell them what we already knew, which is that he's gay. And he says that Vecna showed him his biggest fear, which is letting everyone around him know that he's gay, and that Vecna would use this fear against him. So before that happens, to prevent that, he's just gonna come out to all of them before. All I have to say is that scene was an absolute waste of time. It added nothing to the storyline. I don't think that that would have been something that prevented them from defeating Vecna at all. You know, they finally gave Will the ability to channel powers and his character development was going so well, and then they had to do this. Why couldn't they have just left it at Will is now a sorcerer? And we all knew that he was gay from the previous seasons. It was no secret. It didn't need an entire scene dedicated to it. Anyways, so that threw me off. And that pissed me off for the rest of the episode, which was the final episode of Volume 2. And the group just, went on to plan and start executing their plan to get to Vecna in the Abyss. And then we see that Henry gathers all the kids in the Creel house around a table. He lights some candles and he gets them to go into the trance state. He says that it's time. And I guess they start to channel their powers and start what he's been waiting to do the entire time. This video is getting too long now, so I'm just gonna wrap it up. This is not the same Stranger Things that I know and love. This new season, it started off okay, but this volume 2, these 3 episodes were so disappointing. Besides the few cool scenes and the few things that I mentioned that I liked about it, the majority of it just didn't make sense. And it doesn't feel the same. It feels rushed. It feels disconnected from the storylines that we knew. And I don't know what was going on with the writing, but this is a show that I really loved. It was my favorite show. And I'm gonna give it a chance until the end, but I don't know. It's not looking too great. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really want to hear what you guys think. If you think I'm being too harsh, and what you guys thought after watching these last 3 episodes in Volume 2. And if you liked the video, like it, subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.